I've not been able to upload in a while, and frankly, I won't be uploading as often because, like I said, I'm back at school. But I've also been playing some tournaments here and there, including big ones as well. And today I'm going to talk about Magnolia Elder because let's assume Megumi got the chance to go to some tournaments as well, and let's say that she also went to buy some festival. Then you would probably know that she's actually got really good support for Magnolia Elder. So Magnolia Elder is a deck I've actually never covered on this channel before, frankly, because it was meta, it dominated the format at one point, then became really bad, then they unbanned it, and it was still pretty bad. But regardless of how you feel about Magnolia Elder, interesting developments have come up for all of the grade 4 units in the form that they all have new units to Superior Right, but more importantly, they received a Forbidor Substitute, which is basically a Bastion plushie, because this gives Bastion like a +6 and some shit. But reality is that it helps everybody, including Magnolia Elder, and it gives you the consistency you need to reach your Magnolia's Elders on turn 4 or turn 3 if you play against a Master deck. Magnolia Elder still retains its very strong staying power on the board. So long as you have a board, you just get 6 attacks for free, and you generally can win the game from there. I'm combining that strategy with what I presented in my previous Magnolia video, the whole early game with the Sylvan Horned Beast right line. So you will see that here. Do note, if you pair against Gundiva, you 1000% lose. So you must play this deck with an active knowledge that you cannot play against Gundiva. Our right deck is basically the Sylvan Horned Beast right deck. Exactly the same as I've described in my previous video, virtually nothing has changed. So as you know, they all can Superior Call one point in time. Charis can Superior Call when you ride on top of Lattice, and then you flip the top guard. You can either Superior Call it, or you just not. Then of course there's Lattice. Lattice has the same skill when you ride upon with Magnolia. Magnolia is virtually the same skill. At the end of the bell, this unit attacks, count +1, choose one of your rear guards against 5k, and can attack from the back row. But if you Persona Ride, then you can choose 3 units instead. But you're not going to Persona Ride. You, my friend, are going to evolve from Magnolia into Magnolia Elder. Magnolia Elder is the notorious unit that we are talking about today. And it's a grade 4, so not much to really talk about. What does it do? When placed on the Vanguard circle, choose a card from your soul and call it to the rear guard circle. Any card from your soul. And it has some interesting applications because this deck does have some ways to play around with that. But you can call anything, any unit you desire. Second skill is during your turn, if you have a unit with Magnolia in your soul or on your rear guard circles. And that includes itself, by the way. So if you have an additional Magnolia Elder, you can actually just use this. All of your units gain 5. All of your back row units can attack from the back row, and then they get 5,000 power. So yeah, that's basically very, very free numbers everywhere. It's quite insane. And the bottom line is obviously 6 attacks. Your 6 attacks is pretty much devastating to anyone, because over a long period of time you can just keep beating. Oh yeah, my bad. They can attack in this type of back row and everyone gains 5, not just the back row. So as long as you have Magnolia and the Soul rear guards, yeah, this does count where all units gain 5, all your rear guards gain 5. So your grade 3s attack for 18k, your grade 2s attack for 15k, your grade 1s attack for 13k. But that doesn't matter because you're playing a very top heavy grade 3 and 2 deck, and you will see that in just a bit. So your numbers generally all are relatively higher than average and can hop. And your numbers will get even higher from here. So in our grade 3s, we obviously play 1 copy of Magnolia and then 4 copies of Windsapoo. So Magnolia, as you know, he's from the right deck, so it's pretty much a done and dusted deal that we've already discussed him. But Windsapoo is one of the main breakout stars from my last deck profile, and I still feel that he has a very important role in this deck, as you'll see later. But in your hand and deck, if your Vanguard is a Sylvan Horned Beast, this unit counts as grade -1. So this is basically another grade 2 unit, but he's pretending. It's Winnie the Pooh. He's clearly pretending. And that you can call this unit on your turn 2. Why does that matter? During your turn, if your Magnolia Vanguard was placed, he gains 10,000 power. That's a 23k beater on turn 3 and a 13k beater on turn 2. Those are stupid numbers, because if you're going first, you steamroll a grade 1 Vanguard, you steamroll a grade 2 Vanguard. It's end of the line. It's dead ass super strong. But Going second, it's not that good, but going second, you are gifted with a much more deadly ability, one which your opponent had hoped you did not go to die Vanguard side for. So generally speaking, whether you're going first or second, this deck actually can play both ways. Whichever way you choose to play, Winds of Boo is very important and you need to keep him around. There is no Inlet Pulse in this deck, which people are like, what? But you must know, because Inlet Pulse is just a 13k attacker with an evasion skill that belongs to Coral Assault. You're not here to play evasion. If you want to play evasion, go play something else and pray that Gandiva is off the ban list. If you want to play Sylvan Horned Beast the way God intended, you need to kill him as fast as possible with Winnie the Pooh. But I feel that we actually do need to spend some time to talk about our orders, because as you know, this is a Stoicheia deck, so there are naturally some orders here, and the orders will set the tone for the rest of this video. For orders, we play one copy of Forbidor Substitute, which is our Regalis Piss, and then obviously we play 4 copies of Wild Intelligence. So the Regalis piece, what it does is that it's a grade 3, so you play it when your Vanguard's grade 3, search your deck for up to 2 different grade 3 or 4 units of different name, add any grade 4s to hand, call any grade 3s to the field. Sounds suspicious? Yeah. You can instantly add Elder to your hand for free, and then you call Winds of Boo. And Winds of Boo, because if you basically just roll this turn, he's a 23k beater already. For free. So for one card, you've generated a +2 advantage. One is infinite consistency to this guy, and he's got triple drive, so God knows the consequences of that. And that's just really good. It's just the bread and butter is that you want to hard mulligan this as much as possible. Of course, if you found Elder, it's not that much of a concern, but as long as you get your hands on the substitute, the plushie, it's basically the end of the line for them. But that's your best grade 3 play. If you already have Elder and you don't have Disorder, you can still play Wild Intelligence. For 1 counterblast, you can mill the top 3 cards of your deck and call 1 card from your drop zone. If your Vanguard is the grade 3 Magnolia, you get to call 2 units instead of 1. Now they're locked to being called as the same grade or less as your Vanguard, but that's just for balancing sake, since it's a grade 0. It matters because counterblast is not actually used much in this deck. Besides Magnolia, if you're stuck on him, you actually only use counterblast for your superior right, and then that's about it. And to make matters worse, you even have a counter charger. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. On grade 3, you can superior get a +1 to board, which is additional 2 bodies there. But if you're just already on Magnolia Elder, you can virtually just loop any card you like to recycle, such as, for example, the Great Gollido. A lot of this doesn't really make sense until you really see the rest of the list, but I want to get this as out as there possible so that you are aware that these are your options when going through the deck. That's why we don't play stuff like Spiritual Body Condensation, because they cost soul, and our soul is relatively valuable to us. Our grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Alpine, 4 copies of Friendship Fairy, 1 copy of Lattice for the right deck, 1 copy of Gabrek, and then 4 copies of Gollido. So yeah, that basically wraps up for our grade 2 lineup, which is a very big lineup as you can tell, some of which are not even in the screen, so I will cover them slowly. Lattice for the right deck, you don't have to cover much, so he goes here. Next up is Gollido. Gollido is another recurring star from our previous video. Basically, when your Magnolia Vanguard is placed, if he's in the drop zone, move him to the soul, and your Vanguard gains 5. Yeah, that's pretty nice for 18k grade 3 Vanguard or 18k grade 4 Vanguard. It's just cool. And when he's in the soul, he obviously will work with Magnolia Elder, who can then call him out. And when his unit attacks from the back row, he gains 10,000 power. If he's in the center back column, you can retire him, and at the bell he attacks and draw. So you put him back in the drop zone, and next turn you write, and you repeat it again. Wonderful. Even if you don't get to, it's still a 20k attacker, which is very valuable because it's free with your Magnolia skills, so it's going to be 25k plus. Keep that in mind. Another unit that's doing us great wonders is Alpine. Alpine skill is when this unit attacks, if your Vanguard is a Magnolia. For every 2 Sylvan Horned Beasts that are grade 2 or greater, this unit gains 5. If you gain 10k by this effect, at the end of the bell, this unit attacks, you can bind him to counter charge and soul charge 1. You don't really use that effect actually. That resource effect is barely used. It's a -1 for 2 resources that you don't actually need that much if you play the game right. What you really want is that first skill, because if you play this right, you get a +15k for free. For absolute free. Now, that's assuming you have 6 units that are grade 2 or greater. There's Sylvan Horned Beast, which is deck has plenty. But even if you don't, you still can get 10k or even 5k. Frankly, these numbers are all free. You should just accept it. Of course, the card that's making this all possible is Friendship Fairy. Friendship Fairy, if you have a Magnolia Vanguard, and your opponent's grade 2 or greater, counterblast 1, retire this unit, and superior right a Magnolia from your hand. A grade 4 Magnolia from your hand. So basically, you just jump into Magnolia Elder as a free cross superior right. Yay! And that's basically it. It's a -1 to, go into it. It's a counterblast, yeah. But you don't have to worry that much about it. It only helps for the going second matchup. If not, you just don't use it. It's just like Amelia, it's just like your masks. But you know what? It's just a free 10k that you can throw around the board as soon as possible. If you don't need it that often, or you can discard it. It's just nice to have altogether. The only downside is she's not a Sylvan Horned Beast. Why Bushiroad? And then of course there's one Gabrek. Gabrek is our finisher. But he's tagged in at 1 because frankly I didn't want to compromise the rest of our consistency slots. Gabrek has very easy skills, and that is that when he attacks, when your unit in the same column as him attacks, you Soul Blast 1, and his unit gains 10,000 power. For the grades that your opponent has on his side of the board, they cannot guard with them for his attack. So if your opponent has a grade 0, 1, 2, and 3 on their board, then Gabrek basically forces your opponent to not be able to guard at all, because all those grades are present on the field of your opponent. So basically what your opponent plays, his deck composition will punish the way that you can use Gabrek. And if you're playing against Stoicheia, which they all play plant tokens now because, generic open Stoi and all their high aggression and their mushrooms, you can force them out of grade 0s. So you can basically reverse glory them, which is pretty cool if you ask me. But really it's just at 1 because it's just a funny tech finisher. You can play whatever you want this slot. I just feel a grade 2 Sylvan Horned Beast, this is your best option. Grade 1s, you play 4 PG and Charis. I've already explained Charis previously. I mean, I don't think I need to explain more about him. And Perfect Guards are Perfect Guards, so yeah. Last but not least, our grade 0s. We play 1 copies of our Sylvan Horned Beast starter. Yay! We play 4 draw, for heal, obviously, 7 crit and 1 over trigger, because of the very simple and relatively intuitive fact that we actually need to stay alive, and draws are very important for a peaceful line deck. Magnolia, generally you play upwards of 5 draws, but I think 4 is just enough to cut it. Over trigger, we play this guy because he's an omni trigger, he's good. Heals, crits, everything else is all given. And yeah, that wraps up my Magnolia Elder deck profile. I don't really have much to say, very honestly, because this deck has had so much said about it already. I don't think I could potentially give you an analysis that you haven't heard before. However, I will say though, the only thing I've not heard before is that people aren't talking about this deck with its new supports. They aren't talking about it with its, Infinite Searcher, they aren't talking about it with its Superior Right, which is a shame, because I feel that it should be covered more, that the King of the Wild Beasts is back. It is a very good going second blowout deck, and going first, it also has a very good game, and it has very good early aggression. It's just that, against control decks, it does horribly, but I mean, there's only Garnivar. If you're prepared to not fight Garnivar, if your locals just doesn't have anyone that can afford Garnivar, this is still a wonderful deck to pick up, and it's not that expensive as well, as you can tell from the core. I mean, it's not that bad. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.